Hi, this is Joe Chambers. Welcome to Musicians Hall of Fame Backstage. Today's clip is part 2 of a 3-part interview we did with the great Vince Gill. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. Once again, Vince Gill. Welcome back to Musicians Hall of Fame with Vince Gill. I was talking to Barry Beckett. He was talking about you. I interviewed Barry years ago, and he said, I remember Vince laying on the couch in my office and going, I don't know what to do, man. I can't get arrested in this town.
Because I didn't drink much.
Yeah. You're one of the few. And then,
Yeah.
all of a sudden,
Yeah. Well, Barry and I got to be great friends through Rodney. Playing and singing on Rodney's records, Barry was always around that crew of people, and we traveled some together, and also Barry was producing other acts and getting me to play and sing on some of that stuff, and so we'd become very close. And I'd had several things happen with the records I'd made at RCA. Nothing happened. We kept trying something different, different producer, and then Barry and I were great friends. They suggested, why don't you go in with Barry? And I said, okay. So what happened was I was going in and playing Barry's songs, and he wasn't responding to them, and I finally, after a few meetings, I said, Barry, I said, I'm puzzled. I said, I'm playing you some songs, and you don't respond, I don't know, and I don't know if you don't like them and you don't want to say you don't like them, I can take it if you don't. And he said, that's the problem. I do like them. I said, well, I don't understand. He said, well, I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but RCA said, because of your past, with none of your songs really cracking the code, they said I couldn't record any of your songs. And he says, that's my problem. I like your songs way better than this stuff that we're getting, and whatever we're getting is, and he says, so I don't know what to do. And I said, well, so I don't either. I sure don't. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? The hell with them. I'm going to cut your songs because they're better. And when I Call Your Name was in that batch, Never Knew Lonely was in that batch, and so I had some good songs, and so we cut 5 or 6 things, and RCA didn't respond and said, well, nothing really floating our boat.
they passed on When I Call Your Name.
No, they didn't. I didn't get to When I Call Your Name, but Never Knew Lonely was one of the hits that I'd had from that first record, and they just said it just sounds like what we're used to from you. And so I said, well, let me go. I said, let me go try something else. And Joe was one of my best friends, and still is, Galante, to this day. He said, I don't want to let you go. He said, I believe in you. I said, I know you do. You're my friend, and this isn't about any of that. I said, but let me try something else. He said, okay. And he did. And so then the lucky thing was When I Call Your Name was on that next record I made with Tony Brown. And here's the best part about When I Call Your Name being such a big hit was we called Beckett, late at night and said, hey, will you come? We need a piano intro. We need something cool on this song we're working on. He said, okay. So he comes over at 1 or 2 in the morning and plays this completely just identifiable intro to When I Call Your Name. It's like when you hear Behind Closed Doors or something like that. You know what Pig played was something that really identifies a record, and he did that. And the song all of a sudden had that identity right off the bat. And so fast forward a while later, that song had become a hit, and we had a big party for it, and we invited Barry, and Barry came up to me with a big bear hug like only Barry could do, and he said, man, congratulations. We've all believed in you for so long. It's so cool to finally see, and blah, blah, blah. I said, by the way, he goes, who's playing piano on When I Call Your Name? And I said, are you serious? He goes, yeah. I said, well, you are. He goes, I am? I said, yeah. You came in about 2 in the morning and played that solo and the intro and da-da-da. He goes, oh, well, no wonder I liked it.
And you know what? He was telling the truth.
He
Did
was.
not remember
He didn't
that.
remember it. I mean, he's doing, producing all day long and all night long and mixing and doing sessions in between, and that's totally fine.
I know. I interviewed so many guys. I said, "Did you play on?" I don't know.
I don't remember.
And they don't. When you play, I mean, I remember when I first started doing this, I was talking to the original A-Team guys. I thought they were kind of pulling my leg. Well, I played on about 10,000 sessions, and you multiply, and they were doing 3 or 4 songs a session, 30 to 40,000 songs in a lifetime. Kind of unreal. Unreal. So, how did you learn how to write?
Just trial and error, and it took a while. That was kind of the last thing to come along.
Did you have a mentor that kind of,
Well, I had a lot of mentors,
that taught you how to write?
Not so much taught me, but just by example, and I think that it's like anything else. It takes repetition. It takes writing 100 bad songs to get a good one, and writing another 100 songs to get a second good one, and the ratio of great songs is pretty small, and I was just, people would respond to my singing, people would respond to my playing, but the songs weren't as good. That's a fair assessment, and I agree with them. And it took a long time for those to kind of find their way through, and it was kind of the last thing in line that got going, and then started to work. And I was just quick to settle. I was quick to, not dig a little bit deeper. And now I'm just editing all the time, and finding, well, that word, Guy Clark was a great example of every word matters.
Indeed.
Well, it does.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, if it's not telling this story and it's not helping, get it out, and it's the same thing with playing. It's the same thing with singing. When you're young, you're like a rabbit, I got to show you all this stuff I know, and I got that lesson early on as a player. One of the first sessions was sat down, played my part, and played my solo, and somebody done the talk back and said, that was good, let's try it again. This time just play me half of what you know.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay, point taken. And it's interesting, over the last 45 years, I've worked on 1,000 artist records in my career, and something I'm proud of, because that's what I wanted to do, way more so than be an artist. I wanted to be the session guy. I wanted to be somebody that they called to sing on the records and play on the records and all those kinds of things. I've studied the backs of records and just knew the musician's name, and I would buy a record if a great guitar player I knew played on it or what have you. And so that was, if I had a dream, it was to do that. So it was important to me to continue to do that throughout my career, even when I started hitting a lick, started to do well. Because, well, you don't have to do that anymore. I go, I'm doing it because I love it.
Yeah.
And so I still do it. I do it all the time.
James Pankow lives here now.
Oh, okay.
And we were walking through the museum, and we walked past this piano I got from Caribou. And he goes, Elton John really liked our horn section. Actually, he asked me to write the horns to one of the songs. And then they didn't put my name on it, but he wrote the horns for Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amy recorded a bunch of records out at Caribou.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of her records used that piano too.
Yeah. It was, well, I got one that was in the studio, and I've got one that was in the Chief Ouray cabin, that's where the bigger stars.
I never got to go
stayed.
there.
How did your life change when I Call Your Name came out? Because that was a huge, huge, huge record.
Yeah, I don't,
Song of the Year, wasn't it?
yeah, it won everything.
Yeah.
It did great, but I don't know that, anything about it changed me. Everything around it changed. Because of it, everything was then, you're welcomed into the club,
Yeah.
so to speak. And radio was more willing to play your next record,
Right.
and it started a nice, long bunch of years of having a bunch of really successful records and selling a bunch of records, and the best time in life you could have ever hoped to have had a hot streak, But it's all felt the same at every point. When I was making the first record in 1974, I was trying to do the best that I had at the time, and to this day, I'm still trying to sing the best that I can, play the best that I can, write the best song that I can. So I don't. I've never let the results kind of be the end all to what I think I've accomplished. Because even in all that stretch of amazing success, I feel better about my artistry now than I did then.
Yeah, well, you feel like you've improved, right?
I do. I feel like I'm a better player, a better singer, and a better songwriter.
I love that about you when they asked you, why'd you join the Time Jumpers? You said, I want to be a better musician. Yeah. I was like, wow.
More well-rounded, learned something.
Yeah.
I never, some advice I got early on was never be the best musician in the band. You'll never learn anything.
Yeah.
And that's proven to be true, in that you'll get in a situation. I've been in a few situations where I was in over my head, and it forced me to really to bear down, and a few things that I thought, I don't know if I can hang, and just be patient enough and work hard enough to find your way in, and it all worked out. But that's just,
I got to know, what possible situation could you have been in?
Plenty.
Really?
Plenty, sure.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, I two that come to mind. One was playing with Sting. They had a TV show for a while where two artists would get together. It's called Crossroads, and you'd sing each other's songs. And so they asked me to do it a lot of times, but the artist they always asked me to pair up with never made enough sense.
Yeah.
And they said Sting. I go, that sounds great. He's a musician. He sings high, writes his own songs. That could be something. Then I started going, oh, his music's pretty complicated. It's a little over my head, but it made me bear down and go down in there and find a way to contribute. Maybe not note for note or any of that kind of stuff, but found my way that I play and sing to interpret what he had done, and it forced me to go down a road that I hadn't really been down. Was a great example of that. And then another example that I always talk about was I was asked to be a part of a Brian Wilson tribute about 18 years ago in New York City, and so they said, we'd like you to sing Warmth of the Sun, which I kind of knew a little bit, a beautiful song. And then they said, we'd also like you to sing Surf's Up. And so I like the Beach Boys, but I'm not an aficionado of the Beach Boys. I didn't know that song. And I said, okay, thinking it was Surf's Up, baby, everybody, yeah, right. Something like that. And I figured they'd want you to do something up-tempo with the ballad, And then I got Surf's Up, and I put it on. My eyes got really big. And I said, what? This is like a classical piece.
Yeah.
This is deep. This is all the way over my head.
Yeah.
I can't even touch the bottom here. I called my manager Larry and I said, man, I can't do this song. It's way out of. He said, no, just take some time with it. I called. Who was doing Phil Ramone maybe was head of the music for it. I called him. I said, dude, I don't know if I can cut this, because it's got stupid range and melodic and all this stuff. And he said, man, just live with it a little bit, see if you can do it. It'd be cool. And so part of it was done with David Crosby and Jimmy Webb. So
Wow.
The three of us were going to do this. And I, of course, had all the falsetto, stupid, crazy, they had these little parts in the middle that didn't test them too hard. And so I remember going into rehearsal, and I was scared to death. I'm in there with David Crosby and Jimmy Webb, and we're at rehearsal, and I nailed it. I just nailed it the first time through. And David Crosby looks at me and goes, F you.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest singers. One of my all-time favorites.
Mine too. So it came off, and I walked off stage doing it that night at wherever we did it. I think it was Radio City, and Brian was on the side of the stage. And I walked by him, and he shook my hand. He goes, "That was really beautiful."
Yeah.
He goes, "No, but we never did that song live. It was too hard."
Man,
I said, "Thanks a lot."
I saw him sitting at the piano in the sand at his house, just him by himself. It was great, just that.
Yeah.
His stuff's so haunting,
It's genius,
Yeah.
All that to say was, there's plenty of times where I may not look like it because I'm, pretty, I like to be funny off the cuff and kind of silly sometimes and all that. But there are times that I'm petrified, you know.
Have you ever felt like you made it?
Made it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I made it when I could pay the rent. When I was 18 years old.
Yeah. That's a great answer.
I did.
Yeah.
And it was more about the caliber of people I was playing with. That was more of how I would choose to define making it. Because I was in the world of bluegrass, and I was playing with some of the very best musicians that bluegrass has ever produced.
Mm.
And so as each step unfolded, I felt, everybody said, why'd you quit Pure Prairie League and start playing with Rodney? I go, the band was better. With Larry London, Emery Gordy, Tony Brown, Hank, and Albert, and guys like that, and Richard Bennett, and I said, this is a caliber of musician that is, I'm gonna benefit from this because they're better. There's nothing wrong with somebody being better than you,
I'm used to it.
I am too, and it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Because if you take it in the right light, then you can really learn a lot.
I tell you what, you destroyed me when you so kindly, anytime we've asked you were at our first award show, you sang a lot of stuff for us. You did, Scotty Moore wanted you to induct him out of everybody. Who do you want us to call? I'd like Vince Gill.
That's sweet.
And,
That's sweet.
I'll call him and see, And you did. And then, we had the Wrecking Crew that year, and you got up and sang with Larry Knechtel, and you did Bridge Over Troubled
Great
Water.
Thrills of My Life, one of them.
And that was...
That was the original. That was the guy that played on it,
Yeah.
Crazy fun.
And you nailed it. And I mean, it was great. I was like, he's got to release this as a single, And some people, we didn't do it because we didn't have the rights to it,
Yeah.
We did a 5-camera shoot on it, but we never have released any of it because we can't afford the,
Sure.
Yeah, all the publishing rights and all that
Licensing, sure.
stuff. But somebody put it on YouTube, and every time I say it, I'm like, man, that's just...
Yeah, that's a highlight. There are times that you just kind of go, that was a great moment in time right there, getting to do that. And anytime anytime you're around the great heroes of this music, and that's how I am. I feel like a musician. I don't feel like a star. I never felt like a star. I felt like I wanted to be thought of as a fellow musician. And so to get to do some of those things with the people that created them once in a while was pretty awesome.
You did it again for us this past, in 19, you came out and sang with the Nashville, I call the new A-Team. I know some people don't like that term, but the players.
Yeah.
They played on some of your records and everybody else's too. And that was great.
Yeah, I mean, so many of those guys go so far back with me. I met Hobbs when I was 19 in California.
Right.
Playing my first sessions were with John.
Yeah.
And then Michael was in Rodney's band, early 80s. They had the band called The Nerve, and Eddie Bear, all of them were.
He's out with bottom also.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, when you did the, one of my favorite things you ever did, other like when you called my name, stuff like that, was I went to see you and Paul Franklin at the Ryman, and you did the Bakersfield stuff. I mean, when you were doing Together Again, I about flipped. It was just like, I was like, why can't we have music like that again?
We've still got it.
Not on radio.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's getting played every now and then somewhere.
That was tremendous.
That was fun for me. For a long time, it's interesting how I've been, you mentioned Scotty Moore, and I was just as drawn to Scotty Moore and his playing as I was Elvis. And I was just as drawn to Don Rich when I watched Buck Owens. Mm-hmm. And it's on down the line, it's kind of how I've always been wired.
Well, you're saying the same thing that Keith Richards did. He
Yeah.
said, everybody wanted to be Elvis, I wanted to be Scotty.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.